in there, and so we try to make it, we try to be as helpful as we can to our students, and so that's an exciting piece for me.
I'm kind of curious, like with criminal justice. I mean, because I would imagine you have people who are out there in the, the career field, and what you sometimes get taught in the classroom is not always kind of the reality. When you're actually out there doing it. And I'm wondering if in your graduate programs and stuff, do you have a lot of the kind of those working adults say, "Nah, this is how we actually encounter it," or I mean, is it pretty, the coursework kind of really tie into what's going on?
I have a lot of professionals in our online program, police officers, corrections officers, even some lawyers kind of actually get a different degree, but I don't get too much saying this is how it's done in real life. Again, it's more about thinking about different problems and applying them to real life. So I mean, their experience definitely helps in the learning process. I mean, and then my experience, of course, helps in the learning process as well. So I mean, you have a good collaboration, I think, in graduate school. It's a different culture, a totally different culture than undergraduate programs.
And it seems like in the criminal justice department, a lot, the professors there, I mean, they really have a lot of experience, before they, go into teaching. And so I would imagine that probably helps play a big part of it.
In our program, we do have a lot of experience. In a lot of other programs in the country, there's probably more people that don't. They just have that doctoral qualification, but we have a mix. I mean, I have 12 years of full-time law enforcement experience, plus I have a doctorate. So, I mean, I have a little bit of both. And we have some people in the program that have just a doctorate in the field, which is fine too, because they, they take the theory, like we just mentioned, and apply it to some of the policy making and things like that. So, I mean, it's a unique program, in that we do have a mix.
Now, with you working, 12 years in law enforcement, I mean, was you one of those working, students, taking night classes in it, or?
I was a traditional student, I mean, probably like you guys. Right out of high school, I mean, don't have any clue. I want to be a jet pilot. I want to be an architect. I want to be a coach. So you're going, well, he's in criminal justice now. What happened? Well, I mean, you have these goals and things you want to do, but sometimes you try different paths, and sometimes it just don't work out. That's just the reality of life. So I initially wanted to coach football. That was my going into college after the jet pilot thing and the architect thing didn't work out. I wanted to be a coach, so I took a semester of PE classes, coaching and rules and officiating, theory of football, stuff like that. And I was like, I want to do it. I don't want to just sit in classroom. I want to do this stuff. So someone turned me on to criminal justice. Hey, take this introduction to criminal justice course. A lot of people are doing it. And we get a lot of majors that change major or just take that course just to see. So I took the course, and I loved my instructor, and I loved the course, and really I was just interested. But I didn't say, I want to do this. So I was just interested. So went the traditional route, 4 years, right on time, got the degree, no clue. Still, no clue. So what's the next logical step? Well, my parents say, you get you a job, or you go to graduate school. So I went to graduate school, Northeastern State, where I went to get my master's in criminal justice. And paying for it, I just had a part-time job, even through college. Part-time job, paid for it on my own, struggled, poor, ate ramen noodles, mac and cheese every night. Occasionally went to Western Sizzlin, and ate some good food for $7. But traditional way of going through it. And then at the end of graduate school, I finally decided I wanted to get in the field of policing. But I also wanted to ultimately teach in the field of criminal justice. So found out what I needed to do, and I did it, and here I am. So it takes a few years.
Well, I know that
it's worth it.
from your story here, we always have to do quizzes, for our students who watch us online. So jet pilot is going to come up. What did he want to do before? But
Air Force.
Air Force. Okay, Air Force.
I mean, I applied to the U.S. Air Force Academy, and went through the whole process, and the only thing that kept me out, guys, I mean, I got a President Reagan's nomination, I got a letter from the president, Gene Taylor, who's a congressman here, letter, I mean, I did everything. I had 1 point lower than the required ACT in English.
Oh my gosh.
Everything was like right on the money, and I'm thinking, okay, I got this. That was the reason why I was disqualified. So boom, there goes my dream. Now I could have gone through the officer candidate school and all that, but I just lost interest after that rejection. So,
Well, I guess the last question really is this, what questions do you have? I mean, is there anything that you're not sure about? And if you don't have a question, I've got a question that's going to, pretend your question. So you go for it first.
Okay. So I know you guys talked about the different kind of positions, like if somebody has a master's versus somebody who just has like a bachelor's. I'm trying to think how to phrase this.
Now I've got my question that is the same that I think is what yours is, because for Nate, he's a computer science major. So I automatically think, well, what if he gets a master's degree in, let's say, business? If he wants to get an advanced degree, maybe that's good for his field, because if he works for a corporation, maybe he wants to move up, the corporate ladder. I don't know if that even remotely ties into what you were talking about there, but.
Well, it was just basically kind of what differences do you see in, like position-wise and kind of the chain of command, so to speak, in a company? Do you see somebody with a master's degree going as opposed to somebody with a bachelor's? 'Cause I know you guys
Certainly
touched on it.
management. I think you have a leg up on administrator type level stuff, out of the rank and file, more of a leadership role with a master's than if you didn't have a master's, probably in any profession, because it shows you've taken another level of commitment to improve yourself and to widen your knowledge base. And if it's in a specialized field that you're working in, then that shows a level of aptitude that you wouldn't otherwise have too. So as far as climbing the career ladder, if you want to call it that, I think having a master's definitely gives you the opportunity to move up maybe quicker, because you don't just have to have years of experience. It's also showing that you've got a desire to learn more and understand the craft a little better. If that's, a goal. I don't know.
I mean, for your area, I mean, are you familiar with our computer forensics program?
Yeah, I'm actually taking one of the courses next semester.
Okay. There's a high demand for computer forensic or investigators or people that have a real depth of knowledge in computers in this field, because it is becoming such, I mean, computers, everybody has them now. So as far as investigations, crime using computer, I mean, you're in high demand if you just have maybe a little more, even now, but if you have more background in our field, it gives you even more leg up. But then add the master's degree, maybe in criminal justice, or it just gives you more of a leg up as far as competing against people with undergraduate degrees. I mean, you have that one leg up. You see what I mean? I mean, I've tested for things where I didn't have any experience. I had a master's degree, but it gave me one leg up on the person who just had an undergraduate, maybe the minimum requirement. So, you feel more confident, even if you get rejected. I mean, everybody's rejected.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's part of life. But you are more employable versus someone who has less,
And I think you have a little bit more negotiating power to ask for a higher salary with a master's degree than, if the base level salary just requires a undergraduate degree to get in, but you are applying amongst everybody else who doesn't have a master's, you may be able to.
And what do you got to lose?
Right.
You just don't get the higher salary or they move on.
Right.
But there's a good chance you're going to get the higher salary.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially in the private sector.
Yes,
in the
private.
corporate world, you have that.
Public sector, you might not have that.
It's a little more sticky, though.
That's why I was thinking about having your degree, your bachelor's degree in computer science, and then potentially branching out, whether it's criminal justice, maybe a degree in business management, but something where you can kind of spread that out. I think it's a little bit more diversity in your field, and so I think it makes you more marketable a lot of times, especially long term. I mean, we're not talking about your first job, we're talking about, where you've been working maybe 10 years in the field, if you're wanting, because eventually you kind of plateau if you're not careful. So by having that advanced degree, maybe say management or something else, that has the chance of moving up.
And then you may decide, hey, computer information science, I want to keep advancing in that area and teach.
Yeah.
And at a university.
Yeah.
So I think too, like with what I found, is my undergrad was more how do you do something, and graduate school is more why you do it. And so, often I would meet, I was thinking of the question, you've got the experienced adults, and then they're saying, well, your theory doesn't really match up to the real world, and we'd say, well, why? Because you've worked at XYZ company for your entire career, and that's how XYZ does things. You have no idea what other companies do or why. And so your brain kind of, your viewpoint stretches. And so it could be 3 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and you're not even, face it, computer science, what's it going to look like in 10 years? We have no clue. And yeah, it'll be, but you're kind of trained to be able to think outside the box and do other things and respond quicker than someone with a bachelor's who's focused on getting something done. Ash, I think it'd be the same with you. You're trained, your mind is disciplined through the graduate program to look a little broader at things than they are now. You can respond quicker, and you do have that flexibility. It's like, well, Ashley doesn't have a background in this, but she's got the master's degree. Let's give her a try. There's more opportunity.
And I also think, kind of on the reverse side of that, after you graduate with your bachelor's degree, you go work somewhere for a while, 2 or 3, 5 years, whatever, and you're moving up in the ranks in that company, and you realize they really need something in this area. You can find a master's program in that specific area and specialize in that. That could easily be a salary bump for you, because you're willing to take that extra level of work to become more proficient in that specific field. So some people go the master's route because they're working in a path that without the master's, they're really not trained to do something brand new or something cutting edge, and getting that master's gives them, more of a sharper focus on something. And I think the education field's kind of like that, because you can go administration, you can go curriculum instruction, you can, specialize in being a high school administrator or something. So master's programs all over the country are sometimes very, very specific. If you find a job you really like, then you just go hone in on that, and then you become more of a master in your field, and then you can pretty much go work wherever you want.
And with the online programs, it's even more accessible.
Sure,
Yeah.
you've got a lot more options to apply to without even having to
All I
relocate.
thought was you had to go to the campus of where you wanted to go to school, and that was it for me. I went the same way, wasn't it? You just had to, you just went to OU if you wanted to get that degree in public administration.
Yeah.
But now you can probably get a public administration master's degree online through OU. I don't know, but they're a lot more accessible if you want to stay where you're at or whatever. So.
And if ultimately you want to teach, or you want to be in higher education as a professor or something, if that's a long-term goal, you got to get the master's to get the PhD. So it's a stepping stone to get to that next level, too.
And OU, for example, they have a program for public administration where you can, if you have your bachelor's degree, you can enter the program where you can work on your master's and PhD simultaneously.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different options out there. And one thing you're going to find out where you're working, they may actually pay for some of your graduate work. So that's also something to consider when it comes to the cost. Do I want to work for a company that has a particular program that will actually help me pay for some of this? And so you see that a lot with education, because the school districts sometimes pick up some of the credit hours they'll pay for. So other questions? Anything else? That's all I've got.
All right.
So.
Good luck
Hey,
to
we
you guys.
appreciate you coming.
All right, thanks for having us.